welcome to Cryptic Accounts, a podcast by paranoid people for paranoid people. And this week on the show, we've got the Israeli UFO disclosure, remote viewing of the Galactic Federation, as well as the US 2021 inauguration. I'm Patrick Ryan, hosting this week. I'm joined by Dennis Cheney as always. Hi, Dennis.
Well, hello, Patrick. What a treat. We're going to get to see Wednesday's inauguration before it happens. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
I found we'll get into it in a little bit, but yeah, I found some remote viewers that publicly talked about what they saw happening with the inauguration. So I figured
Oh,
with it happening this week, it would be fun to have this come out day of, because I'm going to be watching to see if any of these details that they have actually come true.
oh yeah. I'm all over this.
I will say, ever since we did, I covered remote viewing the 1984 viewing of Mars, the mission to Mars was the name of the episode, where it was the CIA's remote viewing of Mars like a million years ago. You remember
Yeah.
that?
No, I
Okay.
love that. I love that episode. Are we going to do reading? Are we doing a reading project this
No,
time?
we're not doing a reading, although that was a fun one. If you didn't listen to that one, definitely go back and check it out, because that was a little bit different format for us. I had a transcript basically, and me and Dennis read it back and forth. And
We did theater.
it was fun. It was definitely fun. But no, it's that's not what we're doing on this one. Unfortunately. I'm sorry, Dennis.
Oh,
It's still gonna be good though. But yeah, no, ever since we did that, I've just kind of, I don't know, it really fascinates me. Like, of all the
Yeah.
weird things that we've covered, I don't know why remote viewing kind of stuck with me, but I'm like, this is kind of weird. It's very weird, but the amount of time that like the CIA put into it, I'm like, there's something going on there. Like they
And the
worked with that
Russians
for,
too.
yeah, everybody has worked with that for way too long for there not to be something going on there that seems it must have some success. And how else,
Something. Yeah. Right.
like, given they do see some crazy stuff, but they do a lot of verifiable stuff with it too.
I would guess that you get a lot of like not fake, but I guess that gets weeded out pretty fast, knowing what we know about the programs. And I would guess that some of these people who survived in those programs for like 20, 30 years, there has to be something to it.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna talk about. Actually, we're gonna circle back to one of the people that we talked about a little bit that was involved during the '84. Not involved, but talks about it. Anyway, came up in that episode, and stuff that he's done since then, and other CIA stuff that happened.
Ooh, okay. Oh, so we got a big remote viewing smorgasbord this
Yeah,
week.
we're gonna kind of bounce around a little bit. There is something else I want to talk about. I guess we should just get into it. We appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for listening, doing all the stuff you're doing as always. We appreciate it. So keep on doing all that, hitting subscribe, sharing it. We appreciate it. So yeah.
Comment, give us show ideas.
We do, like, I do enjoy reading some of the comments we get on the YouTube, because that seems to be where most of the commenting happens, although we have gotten some good messages on Facebook as well that have been nice, and some good conversations there. But yeah, we get some real thoughtful stuff. Like, some people really have done their own research on a lot of stuff that
Oh,
I know personally with my research have definitely pointed me in some directions that it's fun. I appreciate it.
that's my favorite thing because it's like we're cultivating a little listener group that
Yeah,
knows
I know it.
that is like educated or like wants to learn. And that's totally why we're doing this. And it's season 2 and we're growing. And season 1 was great. And I mean, we're coming down the barrel of our 1-year anniversary in a couple weeks. And get out there and promote your favorite show because we're getting better.
That's right.
We're getting better. That actually that's a
Oh,
terrible. That's we're bigger, stronger, faster. I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's get into it.
we just saw your like confidence just deteriorate there at the end. No, it is going very well, and we appreciate all of it. That's because of everybody that's listening and everything. So thank you for helping us grow it. But something, okay, so there's something we've touched on it on the show. That's where I wanted to start out at, is the story from a few months ago about retired Israeli general and current professor Haim Eshed, who was reported on. I believe it was in the Jerusalem Post where this original interview happened. A lot of different people have covered it, and I ended up reading. I read a bunch of different articles that were all basically saying the same thing. I stuck on Daily Wires because they seem to cover it pretty well. So I kind of wanted to start out there, and you'll see why here in a second. It'll make sense with everything else we're going to talk about. So
Okay, sure, sure.
let's jump into this. Okay, so as I was saying, General Shed had told a newspaper in Israel that not only are aliens real, but the U.S. and Israeli governments have been working with them, and President Donald Trump was recently on the verge of confirming their existence. And this would have been 5, 6 months ago. This would have been September-ish. I think
Do
this
it,
came.
Trump.
I
Do
think
it.
this came. Oh, this came out in December, but he's talking about it happening like September. That was about the time all that was happening. Anyway,
Do it, Trump. Do it. You got a couple days left. Do it.
I
Well,
know.
actually, you know what? If he does it, it'll be before this airs. It'll be
Yeah.
right, or maybe he'll do it on Inauguration Day. Anyway. Oh, okay. Yeah, but you're getting to okay. No, keep going, keep going. So this is a retired Israeli general.
Yeah, he retired in 2011. He was the head of the Israelis' defense ministry's space division, which I was not aware that they had
Oh,
that far back then.
wow.
Like we
Okay, so
just
he
started
actually
up the
worked.
Space Force. Like
So
they
he actually
apparently
worked with
had it.
space.
Yeah, space defense. Like I don't know
Wow.
what
Okay.
exactly that means in 2011. I didn't get bogged down there too much, but apparently they've had a division of which I was not aware of. Like with when Space Force happened, that seemed like a weird. I mean, now that I'm hearing about like other places, I'm like, are we just behind on like having this sort of program directed at defense, like a defense angle of
Well,
space?
no, because we've done shows before. People want to go back to like the Ronald Reagan Star Wars show. Even before we had Space Force, we had a Space Command,
Well,
and
that's
that was way
true.
back in the early '80s.
And different parts of like Air Force and Navy and stuff have done all kinds of different stuff as well. I guess we didn't have a specific division.
We didn't have a branch, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so he'd served there as the head of Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years, and he's also a three-time recipient of the Israel Security Award. He explained that Israel and the U.S. have been dealing with aliens for years. This is all stuff that he talked about with this reporter from the Jerusalem Post. So this is actually what he said. It's been translated. Like this is just his direct commentary. I just kind of want to go through that.
Sure.
And that's why I like this article because it made it easiest to get all of it, at least in English. The UFOs. So he says the UFOs have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Trump was on the verge of revealing, but the aliens in the Galactic Federation are saying, wait, let people calm down first. They don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to first make us sane and understanding.
So is this guy saying that even aliens are like worried about Trump's Twitter? Like they're like, don't do it. Like they were literally aliens. Like I mean, and not to get into any current events, but but that's literally what he's saying. He's saying that there's some breed of aliens that are like, did you see what Trump tweeted? Like we cannot let him expose us.
I mean, maybe. That does make sense a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he goes on to say they have been waiting for humanity to evolve and reach a stage where we will generally understand what space and spaceships are. And I'm like, hold up. You're saying they don't think we understand what space is and what spaceships are?
Well, maybe are you asking me to comment on that, or are you taking me somewhere here?
No, I'm actually, yeah, you can go ahead and comment on that. Like,
well, think about all the stuff we do on the shows. So what if space isn't really space? Spaceships aren't really spaceships. So like, what if the way they travel so far is because they're really from a different dimension, or they've discovered that space doesn't really exist if you're in a certain mind frame, or you know what I mean? Like there might be some leap in like consciousness that we don't understand, and we think of it as little metal ships going through the air real fast, and really it's something else.
well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just want to say Kofefe.
Okay.
You don't know what that means to the Galactic Federation.
Hadn't really thought about that, but you know what? You're right. So he goes on to say there's an agreement between the US government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. They too are researching and trying to understand the whole fabric of the universe, and they want us as helpers. There's an underground base in the depths of Mars where their representatives are and also are American astronauts.
Wow. Okay. So
Oh yeah.
this
So
is
by
what.
the way, there's a base which we've touched on the show, like, but this is his direct quote of him saying there's a base.
Yeah, the head of the Israeli space defense saying there's a bay. So this is one thing I've never understood, and it's we get into this with abduction stuff too. What do you need our help for? I mean, if you came all the way here, what are we going to tell you? You know, if you're an alien, why? What do you mean you're working with it? It makes me think the way they're working us might have something to do with our minds, our souls. That might be something we have that they.
Yeah, I mean, and we've brushed on that before, like with the Soul Stealers.
Yeah, that's what makes me wonder because in that too, it says, "Oh, we're helping them," but it's like we don't have the technology to help them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he kind of he goes on to elaborate that a little bit, but not really. I don't think he's.
I mean, it sounds like maybe they're just letting us participate, or I don't know. I'd like to talk to somebody that knows more of
Yeah,
this
no.
guy. Yeah.
Let me. Okay, so he goes on to say, if I had come up with what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized. Wherever I've gone with this in academia, they've said the man has lost his mind. Today, they're already talking differently. I have nothing to lose. I've received my degrees and awards. I'm respected in universities and abroad, where the trend is also changing. So he's 87, and so he claims his claims come a few months after the U.S. So this was over the summer. The U.S. Department of Defense released a statement announcing the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomena task force, which I don't think we've really talked about that on the show
Not much.
directly. The thing that they
No.
did in August, they did this in August 2004,
Right. And then they're on the
or not
100.
2004. Sorry, 2020.
Right. They have this task
2004.
force, and then I believe the coronavirus bill gives them 180 days to release their
Yeah, that's
findings.
the updated thing. We have mentioned that. But this is something. So okay, so Deputy Secretary. So August 4th, 2020, Deputy Secretary of Defense David L. Norquist approved the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomena task force. The Department of the Navy, under the cognizance of the Office of the Undersecretary of the Defense for Intelligence and Security, will lead the UAPTF, which doesn't roll off the tongue well at all.
No. Yep.
So the DoD established it to improve its understanding of and gain insight into the natures and origins of UAPs. The mission of the task force is to detect, analyze, and catalog UAPs that could potentially pose a threat to U.S. national security. So at the same time that this Israeli general's talking about all this, like, we're over here talking about how, like, hey, we need to figure out what's going on. And that's become a lot bigger issue, like, at least publicly, for like the DoD and stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's amazing for years and years we talked about disclosure, but like it happened. It's basically happened in 2020. Like they
Yeah.
haven't told us everything they know, but for years people have just wanted the government to say, "Okay, this is real. There's
There's
something
something
to it."
there's
Yeah, and
something
they've
going on.
finally done it.
Yeah, and I will say, okay, with the Israeli general, he has written a book recently, which that's something I found out that he kind of goes into this more, which I didn't get into that, but I just that's kind of, I think, part of the might be part of the motivation to be out talking about all this.
I might be reading this. I might be reviewing this book in the
Yeah, I
near
need to.
future.
I do plan on getting the book and reading it. I just stumbled on that. I wasn't aware that there was a book attached.
I wasn't either. I'd never heard that.
But that was why he was kind of doing this press, I think, in the first place.
Hey, man, he's got a lot of reputation on the line. That seems like a weird thing to throw away in that way.
That's what I mean. Like it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like a cash grab where like he's like strapped for cash and he's trying to come up with ways to make ends meet right now. I don't think that's the issue.
Right.
So it does seem like a weird thing for somebody who's been a professor and like held these positions and everything to just be out lying about
Yeah.
UFOs
For
for
to sell a book when you're 87. Yeah, I don't know. I
yeah.
don't buy it. Yeah.
But in the spirit of full disclosure, he has been writing about all this. So but yeah, so okay, so the Department of Defense established this. Like I said, they're trying to detect, analyze potential threats to U.S. national security. So, as they previously stated, the safety of our personnel and the security of our operations are of paramount concern. The Department of Defense and the military departments take any incursions by unauthorized aircraft into our training ranges, our designated airspace, very seriously and examine every report. So they look through all sorts of different things now, like keeping track of what they're seeing. And back in 2020, in October, in an interview with Fox News, Trump was asked about the task force and whether UFOs are real. And I don't think we've talked about this. Trump said, quote, well, I'm going to have to check on that. I mean, I've heard that. I heard that 2 days ago, so I'll check on that. I'll take a good, strong look at that. He went on to say, I will tell you this, we now have created a military, the likes of which we've never had before in terms of equipment. The equipment that we have, the weapons that we have, and hopefully, hope to God, we never have to use them.
I've heard
So, as
mixed
always, a
things.
very clear point that answered the question definitively. And
Well, you can't. He's probably not allowed. I've heard mixed things about Trump and UFOs. So I've obviously we have our whole. I had my whole theory about him and Space Force being a way to get to the documents
yeah,
because they normally keep it from presidents.
oh,
And
I don't think the CIA is sharing a whole lot with Trump.
no, God no. And then, but then I've heard some people say that no, him. He's not interested.
I could see that
He's
too.
he's just never believed in it. He's not. It's not something. Not a reason he ran for president. He's just not interested.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
Just yeah, neither side brings it up basically, and so it's just never been a thing.
Right. Yeah. He's just not into that type of thing. Yeah.
You know who is into it though?
Oh yeah.
Senator Marco Rubio.
Oh, I didn't expect that. He is. Yeah. He kind of is though. He was out front. I remember when all this stuff was happening back in the summer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so he's the acting chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. And back in July of 2020, he told CBS Miami that he was concerned about the national security risk of unidentified aircraft flying over our military bases. Quote, we have things flying over our military bases in places where we're conducting military exercises and we don't know what it is and it isn't ours. So that's a legitimate question to ask. I would say that frankly, that if it's something outside this planet that might actually be better than the fact that we've seen some technological leap on behalf of the Chinese or the Russians or some other adversary that allows them to conduct this sort of activity.
I'd agree with that. That'd be really scary if like China had
You'd
like.
rather it be just something from outer space or whatever, or
I
the inner
guess.
Earth, or who knows.
I mean, it would be pretty freaky. I don't know. Well, yeah. Then again, then you'd have to fight aliens, but the aliens don't seem that interested. I don't know. Okay, I don't know.
Whatever it is doesn't seem that interested in fighting.
Not yet.
That's true. I mean, this could be a very slow build.
Yeah.
And depending on who you talk to and what you think's going on, like getting into the different like races of aliens, like some of them do have proposed plans or whatever, or would like to see the demise of the human race.
It seems like they're doing it covertly, though. You're right. So
Yeah, and that's something we're going to explore. That's one of the long builds that's going on in my research is stuff about these different races and what they're supposedly doing and who's good and who's bad. There's just a lot out there, and I haven't really figured out how I want to present it for the show. But so Rubio, okay, so back to Rubio. I'm gonna get bogged down in the different races of aliens. So this is gonna become a completely different show. So he goes on to say, but the bottom line is there are things flying over your military bases and you don't know what they are because they're not yours and they exhibit potentially technologies that you don't have at your own disposal. That to me is a national security risk and one that we should be looking into. So it is weird. Yeah, 2020 was a really strong year for just disclosure, just
It
out in the
was.
open. It was
And
just, I don't know
apparently
if
it's
it,
gonna
oh, go ahead.
apparently it's gonna keep going into this year. I mean, we had just the other day, we had that Black Vault Freedom of Information request
Yep.
came out, thousands of pages of UFO stuff from the CIA.
Which I feel like we're going to be talking about a fair amount of that in coming episodes. Like,
Oh, we are. I want to encourage people to check out our YouTube page if you don't watch there. And we might actually drop some of it here too, as long as it's not like video intensive. But I want to start doing cryptic headlines again and going through some of those documents.
I think that would be a good way to do that. Just breaking down individual reports.
Yep.
Like per episode, whether that's a few minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good way to catalog those because there's so many of them. Like it's a lot of information.
Right.
And
So,
there's
yeah,
going to be more coming like behind that because they got to do more on top of what's already been released to try and push it further.
they do. And also, it's just so much. I don't think anyone's gone through it. So,
Well, no, yeah.
so be
It's-
watching YouTube, folks.
Yes. So now I want to transition to what we've talked about before a little bit, my fascination of remote viewing. So just kind of a brush up on where this is coming from. So the CIA, in conjunction with Stanford University, operated a program known as Stargate to investigate paranormal abilities and phenomena that some humans are capable of, and perhaps all of us are capable of. One of the programs under Stargate's umbrella was the remote viewing program. Now, remote viewing, for those who didn't see the other episode, is the ability to describe a remote location, regardless of distance and when proximity to the target, from a given location independent of the target. So basically, if you had this ability, you could accurately see what's on the backside of the moon, if anything, or you could see what's inside a specific building in another country if you were given the coordinates. Or as we talked about during the 1984 mission to Mars, you see Mars a million years ago when there's a civilization there and pyramids and
Yeah. And the thing that was fascinating to me about the Mars, well, a lot was fascinating to me, but it seemed like he could also communicate with them. It's almost like bilocation or like omnipresence.
yeah,
'Cause
we're
in the
gonna get into
Mars,
that. We're
okay.
gonna get into that a little bit on this one too. And the Mars, go on.
Well, just the Mars one, I remember it was interesting enough that he could both see all the way to Mars and he could do it a million years in the past. But he also, I believe, appeared to a Martian and spoke with a Martian
Yeah, he interacted a little bit.
in some way.
And
Yeah.
they seem to be some sort of tangible thing, which kind of makes you wonder, like, if that's some element of what the paranormal we see here is. Is that some sort of weird remote viewing thing happening from
Right.
somewhere else at a different time?
Was it like a power of the mind type thing? That's a good point.
Like, I don't know. That raises a lot of questions there. Like, is that why you see like you always hear about it seems like ghosts are from like older times? What
Right.
is some weird remote viewing thing happening?
Yeah. What if we're tapping into the wavelengths to see? Yeah. Oh, I've never thought of it that way.
So Stargate was going on in the 70s. A lot of the stuff that the CIA did that we've talked about was in the 80s. A paper that was published 1 year after the declass. Okay, so the U.S. government program, it ran for from the 70s. It ran for about 25 years before it was declassified and supposedly shut down. Yes, in quotations, from the literature that has been made available. So the program was clearly very successful. You would think 25 some years, going at it. They obviously had some success doing this. And if you believe what we've already talked about on the show, they've definitely had success doing this to some very weird things.
Yeah. I think the whole like we shut it down after 25 years thing is interesting. Like, what was the last straw? Because you're asking the question, can people see in other times and places basically using mind powers? Like, How does that take you 25 years to come to the conclusion? No, basically.
Or you saw everything.
No, there's too much to see. That's
Yeah,
true. Maybe they had a bunch of people in a room just going year by year.
there does seem I as we get into this further, as we talked about it a little bit, but as I've looked into this further, there's a lot of people that claim to be able to do this.
Yes.
Like, and supposedly, like through training, anybody can actually do it.
Yeah, I think the idea
Or
is it's
just
like
about
this.
anybody can do it. Most people could potentially do it to some degree.
I think
Some
it's
people
one
are
of
better at it
those
than others.
one of those third eye things. We all have it, but some people have a better one, I guess, or other people have to work at it. Some people are more open.
Yeah,
I'm inclined to believe something like that might be going on, So
I I don't know. I find it all very interesting. But yeah, there does seem to be a lot of people that claim it. So yeah, it does seem like maybe there's something to it. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I mean, yeah. I just think the actual stories of like successful things that they have viewed like during the Cold War and stuff tells you that if you can do that, like if you can see a file hidden in a room in Moscow, then like it seems like the whole universe is kind of open. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
who's to say how you're doing that? And I don't know. I just the more we look into this stuff, the more I wonder if there's not more to us. I know this sounds very new agey. I'm not a new age person, but like if there's not more to being a person that we don't have access to for various reasons, whether it be the fall or you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
but sometimes we can get a glimpse into what it's like to have full perception, and or maybe it's just like the quality of being. I've thought before, the quality of being a human being is that really so much of what we perceive is not about perceiving, its lack of perception, right?
Yeah.
So the reason our eyes work isn't because our eyes are so awesome. Well, our eyes are awesome, but it's because
They're
it's
pretty awesome.
blocking out X-ray. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
limits the amount of, and that's what makes an eye work. And same with everything else, is it limits things. So maybe in some other state, just as like a piece of the universe, we do have access to everything, but our consciousness like oddly limits it in a way. It's like a trade-off.
And that would make sense. And that may be why with like training or focus or whatever, one's able to do that. Again, this does sound very new agey. And
Yeah, I know. I know. We make fun of it. They're like we're like, yeah, maybe that.
but honestly, like the Mars thing was very convincing, which is why I've come back to it again and again. And this, what I'm getting ready to talk about now, I found very convincing as well. So a paper published 1 year after the declassification, so this is back in the 90s, by one of the program's co-founders, who we've talked about before, Dr. Harold, who went by Hal Puthoff. And I think I might be saying his name wrong. I don't remember. I'm sorry. Sorry, Dr. Hal. So he published this in the Journal of Scientific Explorations, and it states the following. So in the paper he wrote, to summarize, over the years, the back and forth criticism of protocols, refinement of methods, and successful replication of this type of remote viewing in independent laboratories has yielded considerable scientific evidence for the reality of remote viewing phenomenon. Adding to the strength of these results was the discovery that a growing number of individuals could be found to demonstrate high quality remote viewing, often to their own surprise. The development of this capability at SRI has evolved to the point where visiting CIA personnel with no previous exposure to such concepts have performed well under controlled laboratory conditions. So they're saying that he's getting just guys walking in from the CIA that know nothing that's going on and getting these people to remote view to some degree of success.
I want to try it.
I feel like we could, and if you really want to try, believe me, there's plenty of people that were involved in these programs that are saying that they can teach you if you pay them.
I'll save up some money.
Could you do this yourself on YouTube? Probably. There's probably stuff out there. We could try and
next season. We're gonna become master remote viewers, and we're not gonna have to do a show anymore. We're just gonna meditate and just send our show out into people's minds.
Oh man, just force it on people.
Or they can just our show will just be like, okay, tomorrow at 7, go to your quiet place and close your eyes, and we will speak to you.
We're kind of joking about that, but I think from what I was looking at on some of these sites, that they don't do that exactly, but there is like times they all get together and do stuff like at the same time like that.
Interesting.
Yes.
See, part of me is like
So
awesome. Other parts of me is like that sounds like a séance or something. Like some parts of me are like, ugh.
it does. I mean, yeah, I'm very curious. I don't know if this falls into the realm of witchcraft.
I don't know. I mean, what is it? If you're not, they say it's science, right? So,
I mean, basically, you're not doing like a spell or anything. You're just focusing on something.
and you're not like asking like a witch to help you or like a
No,
demon to help you. You're just like
no,
doing this method. It's like meditation.
basically. See, I
Oh
guess no.
man.
It isn't like that's what I've been trying to figure out. I'm like, it's not really an occult practice. It's not clairvoyance. It is different from that. They do differentiate the two. Um, this is not like
Oh,
you're not like reading people's minds per se. I don't know.
I'm gonna end up trying to remote view.
I think we both know that's where this is going for both of
You,
us at this point.
you know when we get good at it, all we're gonna do is play pranks on each other.
Yeah.
Like we're just gonna hide each other's remote controls and stuff.
I don't know that you can move stuff around, but it is a target to reach for, I
I
guess.
will wake you up in the middle of the night just to freak you out.
Just ghost Dennis floating there.
I'll be like, "What's up, man? It
Oh, not
works."
again. Not again. Um that was the week in season 2 when the show really took an odd turn. Both Patrick and Dennis got really into remote viewing, and that's kind of where it went from there.
I am gonna research this and see if there's an
Oh,
easy
dude.
way to try it. They're saying someone walks it off the street and they have them doing it. So
Yeah, I haven't made that step yet. I mean, I've obviously been doing a lot of reading on this, so I'm pretty much there. I'm very curious. But yeah, I haven't made that leap yet.
I'm
Yeah,
about ready. At least for an experiment to talk about how it went.
it would be a fun experiment. It's like you're somehow selling me on a class right now.
And if we learn how to do it, we can teach others. Apparently, people pay you.
Yes, apparently that is a thing that can happen. Okay, so Dr. Jessica Utz, former chair of the Department of Statistics at the University of California, Irvine, and a professor there since 2008, stated the following about the program. What convinced me was just the evidence, the accumulating evidence as I worked in this field and I got to see more and more of the evidence. I visited the laboratories, even beyond where I was working to see what they were doing, and I could see that they had really tight controls. And so I got convinced by the good science that I saw being done. And in fact, I will say, as a statistician, I've consulted in a lot of different areas of science. The methodology and the controls on these experiments are tighter than any other area of science where I've worked. In my opinion, it's a shame that special abilities like these are not studied within mainstream academia, yet studied at the highest levels of government with the intentions of intelligence gathering. When it comes to technology, special abilities are solutions to the world's problems. It's not the technology, the ability of the people, or those solutions that will change the world. It's the consciousness behind these things. What do we use our new discoveries for? What's our intention? Do we use them to advance the human experience and for the good of all people, or something else? This is why solutions that do pop up in various fields, like clean energy technology, for example, are never implemented.
Okay. Yeah. U.S. Invention Secrecy Act. I could see this. I could see this, and I could see also why, if you develop this, you'd want to keep it secret, though,
Mhm.
because you don't want everyone running around knowing everything.
I mean, I hadn't really thought of the. I wouldn't really want that, would you? Because
No,
then you
heck
could
no.
check on everything that the government's doing, probably.
Oh
I
yeah,
would
the government.
assume.
That's the number one thing they don't want. They want to be the only people. Yeah.
It is,
I
yeah.
mean, that's if the CIA could use it to spy on Moscow, then you could use it vice versa, or I could use it to see what's going on at the Pentagon. Oh man, I want to do this. I want to do this.
Oh man. So, okay. So what I've really been wanting to talk about is I stumbled on it. I think you actually told me about this a little bit. The remote viewing of the Galactic Federation.
Oh yes, I think I
So I
shared an
looked
article with
into
you.
this and I didn't realize this was a Stargate thing. Like this happened in
Oh,
1989. So the declassified literature has numerous examples of successful remote viewing experiments. This is all the stuff that got declassified from Stargate, and real world examples as well. It's safe to assume that the entire program and its contents was not declassified, and this seems evident from the testimony of multiple CIA military remote viewers that were verifiably part of the program for many years, who, like we were talking about, you can get to teach you how to do this supposedly.
it's happening.
This is something to
Christmas
think about.
2021.
I think, yeah, this might be the year that we spend a bunch of money.
To be huckstered out of our money by people who say that we can talk
I
to
mean, I don't
aliens.
want to say that, but I don't know. Again, we say that, but then I'm like, well, it is convincing what they're saying, though, at the same time. So is this real or is this not
I
real?
know.
And how do I
I'll
really
tell you
feel
what,
about it?
I kind of feel like it is real, but I feel like I'm going to research the heck out of whoever you choose to teach you.
Well, all the people I was looking at are verifiably were involved in this Stargate, Project Stargate with the CIA.
Oh, this is cool.
So it's kind of like I can't get anybody more credible. And I guess if you're good at doing something and you can teach other people, you should charge them. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm just like, well, I'm not mad at you for, I don't know.
Oh no, but can you just imagine how you'd feel if you paid a bunch of money to learn how to see things and then it didn't work?
Or you just weren't good at it. That would be the
Yeah.
real disappointing thing. Because
Oh,
again, it seems like this is real.
that would bum me out if you got really good at it and I couldn't do it. I'd be
That
so
would be
mad.
that becomes the divide on this show.
I know. I'd be like, well, you already know what we're doing this week, Patrick. So why don't you just do the show?
I already watched the show, Dennis. It was You should just pick up your energy a little bit maybe next time. Like, but we actually
Dang it.
do it this time. I need you to try a little bit harder.
Oh,
I already watched
already.
it. Okay. So I want to get into a remote viewing session conducted by the CIA, specifically to view the Galactic Federation's headquarters on Earth. So they've got like a HQ here. So this is directly from, and I got this from the CIA vault.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I see.
Yeah, this is from the reading room. I'll have the link to that specific document up on the site to where you can look through all of it, because there were drawings and stuff, and I'm not going to get into all those, but they actually drew out what they saw, like as far as the shape of these rooms, and there was like an experimentation chamber. It just became too visual. It's definitely worth looking into though, as far as if you want to see more of it. So this is directly from the report. This is the viewer writing about their experience. So from 200 miles up, I find myself moving up an inclined causeway with rough stone walls on both sides. It reminds them of Egypt, I think is the notation here. It says AOL dash Egypt. I don't know what AOL stood for as far as what their shorthand meant, but that's what I'm going to assume. At this time, a sense of presence nearby. At the end of the causeway is a long, dimly lit rectangular corridor constructed of smooth, dressed stone on all sides. At the end of the corridor is a steep incline with a very high ceiling, also constructed of smooth stone, AOL pyramid. At the end of this inclined corridor is a large room with a very high vaulted ceiling. There is a large polished stone platform in this room, AOL like an altar. There are white robed entities in a semicircle to one side. Their attention seems to be focused on the platform. The room is dimly lit. There is a feeling of something sacred, holy, almost religious about this place. This place seems familiar, as if I've been here before. Climbed onto the platform and laid down. I was then illuminated by a brilliant shaft of light from head to toe. The light was coming from overhead. A robed figure then moved from behind the group and stood next to me with a hand outstretched over my solar plexus. Ooh, and this part gets hard to read because they like wrote it on like into the approved for like they got stamped over it. Um, Broke away from the session with a feeling that I should have remembered something. And then it seems to go in this order. I further in the document as says a session summary. They go on to say impressions of a round structure located on the top, flat top of what seems to be something like AOL a mesa. There are streaking rays emanating from or going into this structure. AOL like sun streaks in quotations. Inside this structure, it is a dark, cool, rough stone cavern like. From 1 mile overhead, the view is dark, black, empty, a feeling of nothingness. Upon descending, we get the impression of a very high, rugged peaks. There is a flat plateau like area, and below this is a blue body of water that seems to be surrounded by a flat, open, grassy plain. AOL Lake Titicaca.
Whoa.
And there were some drawings, like they actually drew out kind of what the room looked like, and there was like a picture of like somebody laying on an altar with another person, like some sort of figure, like outstretched hand towards it.
It's very alien abduction-y.
Yes, that's kind of the vibe I got, but they referred to it as like a healing religious feeling, which I always found interesting when I've read about remote viewings that they get a lot of emotion with it.
Yeah.
They always get some form. It's very emotion, like they get like some sort of sense of the room, like the vibe, basically.
Man, that reminds me of yeah, it's like an alien abduction with a different skin on it. Instead of like metal, it's smooth stone. Instead of like
Kind of.
operating table, it's like a slab for yeah, that's very fascinating.
Well, and it's kind of something that I've been kind of rolling around. I'm going to dig into it more on the show. I think, anyway, um, is there seems, I kind of wonder what there is to like the energies that are kind of connecting all this. Like, cause it almost seems like there's something going on like a different wavelength almost. That just time is recorded almost. And
Yeah.
like it can just be tapped into in different ways if you can tune into that station, basically. Like
Right.
if you could focus the radio knobs to where you want to like basically see, you can do it, but it just takes some form of training and concentration.
Yeah, no, I feel that way too. And I think there's some documents I'm sure we'll get into on the YouTube show that speculate about how the UFOs are from basically a different frequency or like realm
Yeah.
instead of like a different place. And maybe that's like we were saying at the beginning of this episode, like maybe that's the secret that we're not ready for or whatever.
Yeah. Well, because there's a lot of times where they do seem to almost blip out. Like they move really fast and then it's like just they're gone. And is it really that they're moving so fast or are they clicking into some other dimension? Like, is that what it is? And that's actually
Right.
what we're seeing.
It's kind of like I was reading about 5G the other day because I'm a 5-year-old. I don't know how cell phones work, and I was reading about 5G, and there was so much that I'd never thought about with cell phones. Like they were talking about how the National Weather Service was worried that it would bleed into that the cell phone signals would bleed into the frequency that we measure water evaporating at, and it make it harder to predict hurricanes and stuff. And I just never think about all these frequencies that we walk around and they can bleed into each other. I kind of wonder
Yep.
if that's like you said, if you could just dial into a different time or place, maybe everything's one big thing or one big spectrum, and we just see
Yes.
this. Yeah,
Well, and
we
again,
are getting.
back into some of the paranormal research we've done, where paranormal entities seem to be able to interact with electronics.
Yeah,
There's a
that
lot
seems
of
to be
that.
easier for them or take less power than to manifest otherwise.
Like everything seems to somehow be able to like deal with electricity and stuff on a very general kind of overlap level almost.
Right.
Where like these different dimensions, if that's a thing, are like crossing over.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I think I said 89. This remote viewing was actually conducted in 88. So I apologize if I flubbed that. So first of all, where would the CIA get the idea of to even look at the Galactic Federation in 1988?
Unless it's like a prank that they play on people.
Maybe. I mean, we hear about it now, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where this term came from.
No, I don't. I don't either where it would first appear, but I mean it.
Like, and back to what we've talked about with like the Star Children episode, because they're dealing with the Galactic Federation, old Basher talking back and forth.
Right.
Which again, that's kind of
Which now I don't know whether or not to believe the guy.
well, that's kind of the thing. It's like what I was going to say is that's some level of remote viewing or something as well. Like
That's like channeling.
yeah, he is. There is channeling going on there, and that's what he claims.
Yeah.
But he also claims to, I think, have been transported as well. I think there's remote viewing happening there. They don't call it that, but it's happening there too.
Yeah, it is. It's weird that the CIA would, unless this is some sort of employee prank with each other, that they would even ask you to look at the Galactic Federation. Like, what does that even mean? It's weird.
I mean, if it's a prank, it's weird that they're recording their viewers doing it.
I know. Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it is a prank. It seems like there's something called the Galactic Federation that they want to see.
Yeah, and and obviously in this experiment, in this exercise, they were worried about they knew about a base on Earth. If this wasn't out in space, there were other viewings where people have looked at the one out in space somewhere as well.
Man,
like different movies and stuff. Like different people have claimed to be able to do this, and like I said, the different people that came from Stargate all have different stories about doing different things. So the idea that there is some sort of galactic federation of races that represent a benevolent force in our galaxy or universe is not a new idea. Channelers, those who claim to be in telepathic communication with different groups of extraterrestrials, have relayed this idea to the human race for many decades. So it's kind of been going on for a little while. I kind of want to get into some of the other examples. I want to talk about some of the what some of the other Stargate people have been up to and what they've been doing.
Okay.
So Lynn Buchanan, who we talked about, I think he was a pretty main focus on the last one that we did. But so he was with Stargate for a long time, and this is a quote from him. So after the military, I was asked by a branch of the government to do a study paper to compare and contrast ET psychic abilities to human psychic ability. The study that I did was because I was given access to many of the things that never made it into Project Grudge or the Blue Book or anything like that because they couldn't be denied. So anyway, in studying these, I found out that we can take the ETs of all different kinds and species and all of that and put them in 4 main categories. Okay. We've got those who are more psychic than us and those that are less psychic than us. In each of these 2 categories, we've got friendly to us and unfriendly to us. The unfriendly, non-psychic ones tend to not come here. They don't like us. They don't want to be around us. The non-psychic friendly ones come here for trade. The psychic friendly ones actually want to help us develop our abilities and become stronger at it. And the unfriendly psychic ones want us swiped off the planet. They want us dead, period, no questions asked.
Oh boy, those are the mantis.
Are the reptilians?
Or the reptilians or something, yeah.
Yeah. He also mentions extraterrestrial bases that are on Earth, and he says there are approximately 5. He mentions that they are all inside of mountains and that at some point these bases humans are working with extraterrestrials in various ways. He is not the only viewer to mention these bases and extraterrestrials, as Ingo Swann told many fascinating stories in his book Penetration: The Question of Extraterrestrial and Human Telepathy. He was around very early on too, when Stargate was starting up and stuff, and he was very vocal about it. So another member of Project Stargate, who we talked about a little bit, we didn't get into this guy as much, Joseph McConaughey, was another individual who had experienced in remote viewing an extraterrestrial presence. Then there was Pat Price, who, along with Ingo Swann, is described as one of SRI's most successful viewers, as his sessions were extremely accurate. So you can look these up, any of these names up within the CIA's electronic reading room. And so like they're all there, like there's record that all these people were on this project and then they did this.
Right.
So legendary UFO researcher Timothy Good tells the story quite well in his book Unearthly Disclosure. According to Captain Frederick H. Atwater, who we talked about, a retired U.S. Army officer, also involved at the time in highly classified remote viewing experiments for the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency, as well as for the Army's Intelligence and Security Command. Price had remotely viewed 4 alien bases on Earth, one which was located under Mount Zeal, Northern Territory. Mount Zeal, I think I'm saying that right, lies some 80 miles northwest of Pine Gap. Price believed the base contained a mixture of personnel from the other bases, one purpose being to transport new recruits with an overall monitoring function. The other bases were said to be under Mount Perdido in the Pyrenees, Mount Yangani in Zimbabwe, and coincidentally in Alaska under Mount Hayes. Price described the occupants as looking like Homo sapiens, except for the lungs, heart, blood, and eyes. So are all very weird details I have to know that they look different. I guess unless you saw X-rays or something.
Yeah. Well, when they on the Valiant Thor episode, didn't we say that his people had one big lung?
Yes, I think so. Yes,
It was like one big lung / heart that just pumped everything.
I think so. If I remember
Something like
right,
that.
yeah. And that was another one where I'm like, how would you know that? But I guess back with Valiant Thor, it is more likely that they wanted to X-ray him and do all that based on the way it's documented, like that the administration met him and whatnot. Like everybody was very curious about Valiant Thor,
right?
Who came from inside Venus, which was a very weird early call to the inner Earth stuff that we were gonna do later. So paranormal abilities in humans have been demonstrated time and time again. However, these facts are largely ignored and even ridiculed by mainstream academia, despite the fact that they're studied and used at the highest level of government for decades. This is because throughout human history, human beings have been made to think a certain way and believe what is possible and what isn't possible. These discoveries are huge for expanding human consciousness and learning more about ourselves and the nature of reality. So, to quote Lord Kelvin, there is nothing new to be discovered in physics now. All that remains is more and more precise measurement. Now, Lord Kelvin was a famous Scottish mathematician and physicist who contributed to many branches of physics. In the year 1900, he was all that was shattered only 5 years later when Einstein published his paper on special relativity. So this represents one of the many examples of just how quickly this stuff just progresses.
Paradigm shifts. I read a story 2 days ago that says there's a new study that dark matter might not exist.
I saw that. I haven't looked at. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, it's just that we've thought this thing, we've always, according to the Einstein theories, have thought there has to be this thing called dark matter that keeps the universe expanding. But they've discovered that maybe we just don't understand what gravity is, and gravity might have both a pull force and some sort of low level of push force that keeps things
in balance or something
that is leading to things expanding, I guess. And then also I saw yesterday there's some new study that says that we might only have like half the galaxies we thought we had.
What?
Yeah, I'll share it with you later. I mean, maybe we'll do it on the news show. But like,
yeah, as I say, we don't have to talk about
apparently
that
apparently we've like overestimated the number of galaxies.
Huh.
So dark matter doesn't exist, and the number of galaxies is. We're just gonna find out that it's a flat Earth. That's what we're gonna find out in like 3 years. It's just gonna keep all the mysterious stuff's gonna be like, oh, we're wrong about that, and then we're just gonna end up finding out we're on the back of a turtle.
I mean, at this point, nothing will surprise me. I don't think. Just like, well, all right then. So I want to end this week, and this is going to be a little bit of a section, but what I was talking about
Oh, is this our
earlier,
fun treat? Our telling of the
this
future?
this is the what will be if you're listening to this like day of, this is what supposedly is going to be the inauguration. So this is from Jeannie Mael, who is a very well-known remote viewer. She like teaches classes, and she's actually describes one of her remote viewing classes like in July of 2020. So July 15th, 2020 is when this was posted, and she's basically talking about what this class they all try and remote view the inauguration, and this is what they saw. So I
Okay.
just kind of want to go through this post basically. So she says, I led my intuitive class last night in a remote viewing exercise in which we viewed the January 21, 2021 inauguration. Now, I don't know if this was a typo or if maybe in July we thought it was going to be on the 21st. I'm not sure why it says the 21st here, but I left it because I want it
Uh-oh.
noted.
Uh-oh. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen Wednesday. Okay.
I don't know.
I'm excited. I'm taking notes. I'm just excited because this is something on the show we can test.
Yes, that's kind of
So
why
we can come back next week and be like, how right was this lady? Okay.
yes, that's kind of my plan. Is I'm gonna watch and then I'm gonna try and keep a tally on what shows up and what doesn't. So here are all the visions. I'm just gonna go through the class. I thought about editing through this, but I'm like, nah, just leave them all in. Let's see what the class says. So this is the people she's training to remote view.
So
We're gonna
number one,
start out.
they got the day wrong. Okay.
They got the day wrong, I think. Unless something's gonna happen that this isn't gonna happen on Wednesday. I don't know. So, okay. Our first up is Doris. And she says, I see and hear a jubilant crowd. They're ecstatic, a young crowd full of hope. I see a man with white hair. There is someone behind in the stand with a blue coat. The man who is making the swearing in quotations, judge, has a black coat. There is love pouring in from the one swearing in. They are wishing him well, lots of love from the standing. That's all Doris says.
All
Now,
right. So
Baba,
a judge is going to wear a
a black
black
coat.
robe. Okay.
And so you're going to, there's a lot of blue coat talk you're going to find.
Okay.
So our next one is Baba. And I'm going to assume a woman. Anyway, Baba says, I still see everyone wearing masks. I see Biden Harris. Biden is wearing a black long coat. The crowd is very excited, and there is an air of new beginnings and optimism. I see Harris in a dark blue coat of something red beneath it. I see Justice Roberts holding a Bible and smiling. I only see Melania from the current family.
Okay. Well, that's the first one, other than predicting who will win.
Of who's going to be there.
That's the first one because saying the judge is going to wear the black robe. So is like, okay, they always wear the. Okay. So Melania being there, that's the first thing I'm taking away from this. If Melania goes, but Trump doesn't go, that's going to be a big one for Baba. Baba gets a point.
Lori just said Biden Harris being inaugurated, so she didn't really get into a lot of detail.
Good job.
Clarissa said Joe Biden and a black woman who feels like Stacey Abrams is what she saw.
Partial points. You know what's interesting about this? I Googled it. So this is from July 15th, 2020. Biden didn't announce Harris. And I know there was a lot of talk about her. Biden didn't announce Harris till August 15th, 2020.
That is interesting. So they are all saying that's why. Oh, that is interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I thought that had already happened.
Nope. So, but I will say,
it was assumed.
If you asked me, I would have said a lot of people were saying Kamala Harris, but that's a half a point. But really, right now, the Melania thing is the only thing I've heard
that one did stick out to me. So Bluebell says Joe Biden is raising his hand. Jill Biden is crying with joy. I see Kamala Harris's husband. Blue sky. Someone playing a cello. Justice Roberts is smiling. So Jeannie Mayel, who again is the teacher and organizer of all this, and she says, I see George W. Bush. I see a lot of mics, and I see Barack and Michelle Obama. I see a lot of stress coming off the ground in what looks like fire.
Whoa.
I see Lyndon Johnson being inaugurated in November 1963 on Air Force One after Kennedy was shot. His face somber. There is so much stress in Washington and the country. I see a lot of black top hats, men huddling together before the inauguration. The top hats remind me that these are elites running the country. It all looks dark and somber to me, like the country has fallen so far and there is so much suffering. If I fast forward to February 2021 in order to see who is in charge, I see Biden smiling and a black curly haired woman walking with him.
Whoa.
And I found that really, the flash to Lyndon Johnson is, there's a few in here that I'm like, that's weird.
That is
Um,
weird. But then also he said like that when I first read that, I was like, is Biden gonna get shot? But then like he said Biden's president in February.
yeah, she said Biden's president in February. Um, yeah, I don't know. That one was, yeah,
It's
she had a very,
almost like she got a big spattering of time.
yeah,
Because the black top hats makes me think of like when Kennedy was inaugurated. All those old guys in black top hats.
yeah.
Okay.
Lorraine says Joe Biden, hand raised, Jill Biden beside him. Woman in dark coat with dark hair has her back to me. I think she's VP.
Okay.
Uh, Andrew Posey says Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their partners. He wears a blue tie. The crowd is resolved. I feel there's a harshness, a conflict because something has been ripped from all our hearts. Confusion leads to a peace of sorts. We're all sick of being sick, are so sick of it all. We've had enough. Harris wears a dark gray cashmere coat. Something different and profound about the horses and the procession.
Okay. I mean,
Christine,
there is gonna be something different because it's the pandemic.
well, yeah, but the tension and all that, I just feel is very weird. Given there was tension over the summer too, obviously, but
I mean, yeah, this was right in the middle of all that.
that's true. That's true. It's not that crazy to think that you would have some emotional projection or whatever to what's going on to 6 months in the future or whatever.
Yeah, like the disease, the unrest, the yeah.
Well, just protests that were happening, just unrest that's happening throughout the
Right.
society, basically.
Right.
So Christine B says, umbrellas, black coats, reds and blues. Biden has hand up. I see white hair and a blonde woman. Obama is there. The weather is chilly, gray clouds, peaceful, military or police, calm, standing at attention, all very orderly and sedate. I see a black person, sedate again, a bit heavy, part funeral, part inauguration.
Interesting.
Natasha goes on to, there's another one, says, I see a woman with dangling earrings, bluish color suit. I see a headline about the new Secretary of Defense. The secretary will be a millennial man, brown hair. I see a man in his late 40s in the crowd, possibly another new secretary. I also saw a group of people smiling, young crowd. I do not see Ivanka. It's like she left. Former presidential candidates, some of them will be new secretaries. A woman with glasses, small, will be the new Secretary of State. Someone said to Natasha that they thought this sounds like Elizabeth Warren.
Okay. These are starting to get into some.
So that was another detailed one where Elizabeth Warren as the new Secretary of State, and then a man in his late 40s, or the Secretary of Defense will be a millennial man with brown hair in his late 40s. Or no, I see a man in the late 40s in the crowd, possibly another new secretary.
Well, let's check this right now. Hold on a minute. So, Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, does he have a nominee for that yet?
I think that's been decided. It hasn't been adopted at, but
Well, obviously, but who's being
Secretary
proposed?
of State, right? Is that what we were saying?
Secretary of
millennial
State.
man?
No, that's Secretary of Defense. Secretary of State, they're saying, is Elizabeth Warren.
Secretary of State is going to be Anthony Blinken, who is a 58-year-old man.
Well, that one's off then.
Secretary of Defense is Lloyd Austin, who is a 67-year-old black man.
Well, they missed that one too then.
Okay, that was some bold. I think they were just naming off like the young thing, the millennial. That sounds like Pete Buttigieg. But
yeah,
yeah.
So Cher says, they were obviously off on that one. If we got the Secretary of State already, then yeah. So Cher says, I see Biden in a blue suit smiling. Nancy Pelosi with a cream-colored scarf and a nice hat. Before I flew down to the White House, I saw a green dust cloud with the letter T swirling away. I see the number 7 again and a crosswalk. Someone mentions that they don't see Trump, and I see dust clouds.
That's interesting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Pakaki says, I see lots of red and blue, Biden in blue suit, red tie, white shirt, black coat, and Kamala in a red suit.
We got lots of disagreement about the suits here.
I know
we got her in black, we got her in red, we got her in blue with some.
Yep. Everybody's seeing kind of different things. So Perezzini says, I see Biden with Jill next to him. The left side of my face is prickling like numb. Not sure if it's cold or possibly neurological. Are snowflakes stinging? I do not see the VP yet. Esther says, I don't see who it is because I don't want to cause it. But Barack Obama popped up, so I'm hoping it means Biden will be sworn in. All right, thanks, Esther. Sibon says, Biden smiling, waving, wearing a long dress coat. There is so much joy at the inauguration.
Nobody predicted Trump? Not one person? Okay.
It doesn't, no, nobody in the group predicted that Trump would be. There were some people who said that they were confused or chose not to look. Like there were a few more like that, I think, that I weeded out that were just kind of, there was too many that was just like, well, that doesn't really.
And we're going for wins here. We want something. We want to
win. Julie says, I see a lot of military uniforms. I don't see Biden or Trump, but I feel the Democrats won. Mary Kay says, at first I felt a very strong sense of Trump. I saw him at the White House. He was very, very angry, scared me like, oh no, what is he still doing there? Then you said to look at the inauguration, and I saw Biden with his hand on the Bible with a huge smile. Lots of people, lots of excitement, and an air of hope and some fear. Something about Trump, very dark energy coming from him and the others connected with him.
I mean, I don't know. There's not a lot to sink your teeth into here.
There's a few things.
I've taken note of a couple things.
It'll be interesting just to see who gets it right. If anybody gets like dressed, like who's wearing what correct.
Yeah. Well, somebody's going to get it correct because I know Harris has now been in beige, black, blue, and red. So unless she shows up in like green.
That's true, which is unlikely.
Yeah.
We will end. The last one is D2, who says, it's sunny, bright sun. Biden is being sworn in. I feel chills, the good kind. A dark-haired woman is by Biden's side. Kamala Harris in a beige coat. I think Ivanka and Jared are gone.
Oh, the next one. CC21, some anonymous person. The next one after that says, I see Joe Biden. Crowds are sparse. I saw Melania, not Trump, with a green hat. And that she was smiling and trying to save face. That's the second person who says Melania is going to go to the inauguration.
Yeah.
Also, the green tea could be her green hat. If Melania shows up despite Trump and wears a green hat, I will give it to some of these people.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead on me here.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said it was the last one. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're right. I did, didn't I?
Sometimes we have extra notes show people. Welcome to behind the scenes.
You're right. I do have
There's like a bunch more actually.
Well, if you were enjoying this, guess what? I got more. So I'll just go to jump down to those. So Asta says, I see a blondish woman sitting in the front row dressed in blue. Okay. Anna Van says, Biden, blue jacket, hair is blowing a bit in the wind, big smile. Also Harris, very large crowd gathered. Trump is not there. MKD says, I see Joe Biden looking very handsome in a black coat. Or sorry, that was Debbie saying that. The next one is MKD, which is, it is a cold, sunny day, black trench coat. I see Biden, not Trump, is strongly there as well. Very confusing. I see Kamala and I don't trust myself, but I also see Trump in a mask. I see Biden with black eyes too.
That's
That was
weird.
kind of that was a weird one that was kind of all over the place.
Some of these weirder ones I almost trust more.
Yeah, they're just
Like
so
the black
specific.
eyes could be like symbolic of something, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and that's the thing. If he shows up and he looks like he's got a shiner because he like fell over or something again, like that's gonna be
yeah,
like a ooh, that guy,
yeah.
yeah.
Another comment from Pakaki was, however, what is disturbing to me is that I also saw a woman, like a version of Queen Victoria, dressed in black with a black veil, also being sworn in. That I cannot understand. It was weird that he like doubled back. Like it's almost like this reads almost like a transcript. Like they're sitting around talking about their experience.
Now that one's fascinating. That's the second one that I think implied like a death shortly beforehand.
Yeah, there's a few that actually kind of have some grim sounding predictions to them. Which that's why I'm glad I caught. I wish I would have kept on going and found them more. But yeah, I got a couple more weird ones in here, I think. So Terry says, I see Biden with Kamala marching down the roadway. Biden is sworn in. Some of the former presidents are there in a video, like a big screen with Zoom. Kamala is in yellow or light green.
Oh, we've got. I think the
Now
only thing left for
everybody's on
her
the
is
board.
I think purple might be the only thing left for her.
Yeah. Biden is in blue. It is bitter cold and sparse crowds due to COVID. I didn't see any Trumps. I'm gonna. Another one just says, I see Biden. Mary said, I see the top of Biden's head, Kamala Harris, huge crowds yelling. I saw Obama too, close by, but I saw Kamala much more than Biden. Jessica, man with short, well trimmed hair, dark red burgundy tie. It feels as though Trump is not feeling well. Cold air. Another person said, I had no sense of Trump being there. I saw Biden smiling in a top hat for a Lincoln hat. That might be a symbol of something, not actually worn. Lots of smiling Democrat leadership. Pelosi smiling, warm, happy, Kamala there. I felt that the current Republican leadership was irrelevant.
Well,
Uh, and then Janelle goes on to just kind of summarize things. So some saw people wearing masks. This is a talented group of people, including some who have a remarkable record of accurate remote viewing. Minority Report on this. I personally did not see who was being sworn in, although what I did see doesn't contradict the majority of the findings that Biden wins. Instead, I had a vision of the Obamas in attendance, and then visited as we talked about, the grim Lyndon Johnson being sworn on Air Force One. I saw a lot of stress coming from the ground. I saw a vision of a group of men in top hats, which later someone pointed out was probably the Lincoln Project, the anti-Trump Republicans. Two others in our group, Christine and Andrew, also picked up on the somberness of the event. Christine, who saw Biden, also wrote part funeral, part inauguration. Also, Mary at first saw Trump and Melania and then saw Biden. Also, Pikaki saw a version of Queen Victoria dressed in black with the black veil and being sworn in. Queen Victoria lost her Albert early in her reign and then reigned in mourning. Also, Esther did not see Biden. So yeah, that was
maybe
remote
they
viewing.
saw like part inauguration, part like Biden's funeral.
Maybe it's unclear because you're right. They're trying to focus. Who knows the way things work with all that, and especially if you're new at it.
It'll
Who
be
knows what?
interesting to come back to this next week and then to come back like a few months from now and see what happened.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a little bit of a follow up on remote viewing. The next follow up will probably be us talking about trying to remote view.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was I'll probably bring this up next week, either at the end or very beginning, to
Oh yeah,
see how some of these predictions went. Um yeah, that's really fascinating, Hermano. Yeah, that's very fascinating. It's not very often we do stuff that we could predict the immediate future.
yeah.
So
So that's what I thought it was a fun little addition to add in here at the end. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I mean, as we've kind of talked about throughout this episode, like I'm very back and forth on how I feel about this.
I just want to play Kamala's coat bingo and
Oh
see
yeah,
how
we're gonna have to
see
make
what color it
cards for
is.
clothing cards. Just who got it right.
I'm gonna go to like a yeah. I don't know the some of that's very ominous. It makes me feel like some bad times are ahead, like the widow stuff and
There was one, and I swear, and I don't know how I missed it. There was one that was talking about how they were seeing. Oh, here it is. I skipped it. Um, I forgot to note who it was in the group that was saying this. So I think this is Genie based on the way it's being written. So something I want to add about my inauguration prediction. Oh, this is which person was this? This is somebody. I'm sorry, I forgot to note which participant this was, but this is a note somebody added after they wrote in their thing. They came back and wrote like another thing.
okay.
So something I want to add about my inauguration prediction. I was very surprised when I saw Biden being sworn in. That's because for the past year, I haven't seen him occupying the Oval Office. I didn't see Trump there, but no Biden either. I do not see Biden winning. And now, unlike the times I'm sorry, I do see Biden winning. And now, unlike the times in 2016 when I couldn't see Hillary in the Oval Office, I can see Biden standing in a sunny Oval Office, smiling, but not sitting. I feel that standing versus sitting piece is significant somehow. Sitting to me feels like settling in. It feels solid, like he's there to stay. So although I see him winning, there is an uncomfortable feeling surrounding it.
Ooh.
I'm glad I saved that one for last, actually.
Oh man, yeah. All right. Well, we got our if something happens to Biden. Oh wow. All right. All right. Well, we got our I've been taking notes. We got
And
our
again,
predictions.
the link to this whole post is going to be on our um, sources tab on crypticaccounts.com, but it's from Jeannie Mael's website.
Is this a common thing she does on her website? Does she often have groups do things about current events? We should check in on her from time
I
to
didn't
time.
look into how far that is. It does seem like they do post about their sessions though. So yeah, I didn't dig too far into. I more vetted her and what she'd been doing
Right.
as opposed to really. I tried not to get sidetracked. I
We might
tried
have
not
to
to
have a
get.
Jeannie Mayel report every few weeks. See what she's up to.
Honestly, the way that they seem pretty open about it, they probably we probably be interesting to reach out to them.
Yes, I just want to read what they do in their sessions and compare it. Like this is fun to me that we're gonna do this. So, well, great job, man. I thought it was a good show.
So a little bit all over the place again. I
All
kind of
about
wanted.
remote viewing, Galactic Federation.
I honestly just kind of wanted to do. I had fun with the dinosaurs last week. I just kind of wanted to do something a little bit lighter and fun as well.
Yeah, and we end on the assassination of Joe Biden. Okay,
You know, just lighthearted, feel good stuff, Dennis. You know, no
um,
big deal.
well, no, I think I really enjoyed it. It's fun to. That's one of the reasons I like the shows. It's fun to break out. I'm glad we're not doing like a contemporaneous news show sometimes, and we can break out into different fun esoteric things. So this was really cool, man. Thank you.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so Jeannie is, like I said, very well respected in the field as far like she's got a master's degree from the Harvard School of Public Health and the Harvard Graduate School of Education and an MA in counseling psychology from Framingham State University. So she's got some credits as well
Yeah.
as she's very well respected across academia. Um, and she's worked as like a health writer and stuff. So she was one that I was just like, man, she's a lot of these people that are higher up in this like are very well educated. Like they're not just random people. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah.
And then the ones that the government worked with as well, very smart individuals that went on to do not I don't know if profound's the word for it, but to have like good careers. Like they're intelligent people that don't seem crazy. I know it's maybe not
No.
the best way to put it, but
Yeah. No. I know. I think that's a perfect way to put it. They don't seem crazy. Yeah. They seem like they don't seem stupid either.
mm-mm.
They seem like they're on some sort of spiritual journey or something like a spiritual journey. I can get behind that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, and I bet again the same question that keeps going around in my head. Not so much the witchcraft, but yeah, is this a spiritual thing that's happening? Like what?
I mean,
What?
at a certain point, whether they call it scientific or not, I think we've mentioned this in other episodes. I mean, it's indistinguishable. To
Yeah,
say that you could go in yourself and see the inauguration happening 6 months in advance. I mean, that's, you might say, and maybe we'll find out that it is all scientific, but that's indistinguishable from mystics and stuff in the past.
that's true.
So it's spiritual whether they say it is or not, because it's about a different dimension of humanity.
Yeah. Well, thanks for going on the journey with me, Dennis.
Oh, we're gonna go on some other journeys, it sounds like.
Yeah. So thank you everybody so much for listening. We appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed kind of putting it together and getting to talk to Dennis about it. I hope it was enjoyable to listen to. If it was, share it, tell your friends, write a review, give us 5 stars on iTunes, help us out.
I was
that
just
kind of
gonna
stuff,
say that. You're reading my mind.
that kind of stuff. Well, I remote viewed Dennis. I did.
My push this week is, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe.
Yes.
Hit the bell that tells you when we have new stuff. And because we're going to start having stuff come out more than once a week. And if you're on a podcasting thing like iTunes or Spotify, then if you're probably already subscribed, so leave us a review. It takes 2 seconds. Even if you just do the stars, do that. Give us.
Yes, the stars are helpful. We
give us
appreciate
4 or 5 stars.
Yes, please, leave a positive one. It helps move us up in searches and helps other people find us as well. So we appreciate that. We will be back next week. Dennis will be hosting. And yeah, it's gonna be good. So
Woman in Black will be hosting. All right. Thank you, Patrick. Love you.
Thank you, Dennis. Love you. Bye.